You're live to the Arsenal world, George.
Good evening, everyone. We are back. It's Friday. We've been back after a few weeks break. Bit of an upgrade, as you'll probably see visually as well. So before I get to my guest, and I'd say they're like the backroom staff. We have to be nice to Dan now. He's moving up in the world. But yeah, so we're starting a new series over the summer because obviously there's no real football on at the minute, is there? So we're going to do a series called Gooner Stories. So we're going to get some guests on, talk about their Arsenal journey, or just footballing journey, favourite memories. And yeah, I think it's going to be quite good, really. So keep posted. And if you want to get involved with that, just reach out to us as well. So I'll start with the main man. Andrew, how you doing, mate?
Oh, it's me.
You've been promoted, mate.
Good evening, Gooners. Yeah, good. I'm good.
Yeah. You're like the Per Mertesacker of the podcast.
What, incredibly slow?
Yeah, I was thinking like quite tall and maybe not as German, but it's fine. We'll work with that.
Fair play. Well, yeah, decent player, good player actually.
Yeah.
I like Per Mertesacker.
He loved a goal against Spurs. That's all I remember. So yeah, Dan, how you doing? It's been a busy summer for you, isn't it?
So far, plenty more to come. But yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
That's good. Good. So then we'll move to our guest. Well, she's more family than a guest. So the one, the only, Mel, how you doing? I bet you're well happy after today.
I am in a great mood after today. I couldn't have asked for a better draw.
Yeah, I think when the draw come out, I think it was quite funny because someone messaged me and said that apparently mine and your voice message was like entwined with each other and said a similar message. So we are talking about the Arsenal Women's Champions League draw, and we are playing Rangers at Meadow Park as well. Andrew dropping the exclusives earlier. I think he's turning into we've got our own ITK, don't we, Andrew?
I think Daisy was and Daisy and Freddie of the Gooner magazine were my. I was just basically hovering over Twitter, waiting for their news. Well, I watched it live. Timed my lunch break perfectly. Watched it live, and then,
wasn't it a terrible draw though with those two guys doing it? It's just like something at Butlins holiday camp doing bingo or something. It's like awful.
Are you
Champions
surprised?
League draw. It's like,
what do you mean their personalities radiated through?
Could they not find one international women's player to do the draw?
Great,
just
yeah.
guys from the office to do it. It was, yeah. So UEFA, come on, sort it out.
Who were they, by the way? Who were they?
I've honestly no idea, but I was really hoping for a Rod Stewart sort of Scottish Cup diving at the top. That's the kind of energy we need, not the two random blokes in suits who look like they're being held at gunpoint behind the camera.
To be fair, though, like we're saying, they did do a good draw, so we should actually we take it all back. It's brilliant draw.
I was hoping Jen Beattie was going to do the draw.
I think she would have knee slid across the stage when Arsenal drew Rangers as an ex-Celtic player. I think she might have stayed tackled somebody.
There'd have been doubts about the validity of the draw.
Would have just been like when Wrighty done the draw for the men and put us at home against Liverpool. So yeah. So we're gonna kind of delve into Mel's background with football and Arsenal generally. So if you have any questions for Mel, please drop them in the chat and Dan will read them out. Andrew, do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess it's that more of the general question for Mel. And what was there any other girls into football? Were you into football as a young girl? Because it's certainly of my generation. I appreciate I'm a couple of generations older than you, Mel. It just was unheard of. But what was the culture like around girls watching football?
Well, when I started playing football, I wanted to say I was about 6, and I was the only girl. I got chucked in at the deep end in the boys' sort of football team at school, mainly because my older brother was in it. And when I was 6 years old, whatever my older brother did, I wanted to do too. And I was better than him at it, so it made me feel great. But yeah, I don't actually think I played football with any girls until I was in, I want to say primary 6. So I would have been like 11, 12 before I actually started playing with other females. And that was through a school team, and then through the school team I ended up in like a women's club. But even then it wasn't like an under 15s. I was 13 years old in goal playing against grown women. But getting into football, I've sort of born and bred into it, if I'm honest. Like my uncle, my mum's brother, he played. My older cousin played and still does play. My younger cousin on my mum's side also plays. On my dad's side, my dad played. My granddad's was a really well-known referee in the area. To the point that even now I can't give any referees hassle when I'm playing without them being like, I knew your granddad, he wouldn't be very happy with this. And I'm like, my sincere apologies. So yeah, up here in sort of like the northeast of Scotland, football's very much a thing that you're either born into and it's like your whole family's played, or you just randomly pick up. And I was quite lucky that I was born into it. My dad likes to tell me the story all the time of when I was little. I wanted to say I was like 2, just walking. And the Celtic game would come on the telly and he'd shout through, and I'd come sprinting through the house to sit on the screen and watch it, because I just loved sitting and watch football with my dad. So that's where it all started, really.
Oh, amazing. And yeah, I guess you've already alluded to the fact that you were born as a Celtic fan. Little or no choice, but it sounds like it was. After today's voice messages that scared the hell out of me, I've got to say.
I think I scared my dog as well. My dog was looking at me like I had 2 heads. Yeah. Anybody walking past my mum's house, you could hear everything that's said outside. So if anybody walked past my mum's house, they would have thought somebody was being murdered in here when that draw came out. I was home alone, so it was fine.
Yeah. Luckily, I was on the office on my own because I'd have probably had the police coming around just to check if I was okay. So obviously, we were saying Celtic was a given, but then Arsenal's
a bit of a rogue one, I'll be honest, because on my dad's side, with my granddad being very, very old school with his football, you had the Celtic Liverpool connection. So my granddad was a Celtic fan and always had a soft spot for Liverpool. My brother then picked up Liverpool for my granddad, but he picked up Rangers from the other side of the family. So I really had to go out of left field when I decided to support Arsenal. But I don't really remember how it came about. It was just, again, my older brother was always watching football and I always wanted to do what he was doing. So if he was sitting watching Premier League years or whatever, I was his little shadow in the corner watching it. And I just remember, I can't even remember what year it was, but I want to say it was like an 05-06 season Premier League years we were watching. And I must have only been like the 6-7 season or like the 7-8 season that we were watching it. And I was like, this right here, this team in red is the one that I want to buy into. And it wasn't too long after that, I think, that Kim Little sort of made it big in women's football up here and went to Hibs, and then had her inevitable transfer from Hibs to Arsenal. So that was the link that really sort of cemented it for me.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Dan, any questions for Mel?
So you mentioned obviously Kim, players that had that first sort of impact of you like growing up. So he was then them sort of player. Well, now Kim obviously is going to be a big influence, but it's what other players did you sort of see from watching them Premier League clips? And did you remember seeing any women's games at that age on the sort of TV?
The first player that I properly fell in love with and was like I want to be like them when I grow up. It's not an Arsenal player. It's not even a women's player. Henrik Larsson was the man for me. Anything that man did, the Swedish king, the king of kings, he would score from bizarre angles. He would pull off wonder goals in big games against Rangers. And then I remember he broke his leg. That was quite traumatizing as a child because his leg was literally like a 45-degree angle. And we somehow managed to sign Ian Wright as his replacement. And this is going back to like 2002. So I was only like 4, so I don't really remember it vividly. But yeah, I remember watching Ian Wright when he played for Celtic. He didn't play many games, I wanted to say. He only played a handful. But that was when I first saw Wright. Ian was like, this man's got something special. And that's then how me and my brother spiraled into watching like the Premier League years and stuff like that. Going back like the Arsenal squad that I started watching, I honestly can't even remember who it was that I properly fell in love with. I think it was just like the club as a whole and the team as a whole. There was just something about it in that season that we watched that I was like, I'm sold on this. For women's players, I really don't remember seeing any women's football on TV when I was younger. It was more, you would go down the local park, Kim playing for Buchan Ladies against Murray Ladies and absolutely running riot. And I think she scored something like 10 goals and humbled them tremendously. And that's the only real like women's football I remember watching. It wasn't until I don't even know when, well after 2010, that I actually can vividly remember sitting down to watch a game of women's football on TV, and it was probably an FA Cup final on BBC or whatever that Arsenal were involved in, because that was the only ones we really got up here. Because women's football professionally in Scotland didn't really take off until 3 years ago on TV.
Do you remember your first live game that you went to? Celtic game, or just a local team?
The rogue one is I've never actually been to see a Celtic game, a men's game. I've been to see the women. I've never had the chance to see the men. It was something that me and my dad and my granddad always wanted to do together. And unfortunately, my granddad was too ill, and then we sadly lost him a few years ago. So we've never had that chance. And my dad's just a very, very busy man. So he's too busy to fit me into his very busy schedule, even as his favourite child. But the first game I remember going to see was with my dad and my older brother, and Elgin City, which is my hometown team, were playing against Inverness Cally Thistle through in Inverness in a cup game. And I think Cally were still in the Scottish Premiership at this point, so it was a big game. Elgin City didn't play teams in the top flight of Scottish football that often, so we made the 45-minute drive through to Inverness. We watched Elgin City get absolutely, but that was the first live game of football I went to see, and I think at that point, I can't even remember how old I was because it feels like it was that long ago. But at that point, I was like, I want to do this more often. I want to experience this feeling more often. George,
are you back with us? You cut off a bit.
Yeah, sorry, I dropped my phone. So I was just going to say, Mel, I've got a couple like a bit offish questions, but what was obviously you've been to some. I know you've been to the Old Firm derby, haven't you? The women's. So what would you say is the worst kind of stadium you've been to, either like watching or playing? Because obviously I know you play football as well.
Playing football, I've played on some howlers, mainly because a lot of the teams that we're playing are still playing in like local parks and stuff, which is bizarre. Like we played St Mirren in the Scottish Cup, and we went down to play them, and it was just a random AstroTurf in the middle of nowhere. And we've turned up on our club bus thinking we're going to St Mirren. This is going to be a good away day, and it was an AstroTurf cage, and it was probably one of the worst AstroTurfs I've ever played on in my life. And the changing rooms were like old shipping containers.
Yeah.
Like, so just like painted white outside, all the paint's peeling off of them. The showers were locked and we couldn't get in. The toilets didn't flush. The benches that they'd manually like drilled into the side of the shipping containers were falling off. So if one person sat on it, the whole team was coming down with them. We couldn't fit our whole team in the changing room, to the point that we were having to do shifts of going in to get changed, and our managers having to be like, "Here's your kit, here's your kit, here's your kit" on the way in, which was a very stark contrast to what we've got, because we're in like the lowest league of women's football in Scotland, because we've only just started as a club, and even if we're not playing in the men's ground and we're playing on the AstroTurf next door, we use the men's changing room and we go in and the kits are all laid out in numerical order, like a proper setup. So to go to a team like St Mirren and to be getting changed in ratty old shipping containers that are probably about as old as I am was a humbling experience. But the worst pitch I've been to is probably when I went to see Celtic play Rangers.
Okay.
It was an AstroTurf pitch as well, and having played on a lot of AstroTurf pitches, watching your two teams at the top of the SWPL who are fighting it out to win the league, playing on that kind of pitch, it didn't really paint the league in a great light, because it looked like a high school pitch AstroTurf. It was more black beads than it was actual fake grass.
Yeah.
And the players were slipping about all over the place, and the ball was just zipping across the park and bouncing in bizarre directions. So that's probably the worst pitch that I've seen professional football played on.
We thought Man United had problems. Also, can you remember what your first Arsenal game was that you went to, and like what was your memories of that?
My first Arsenal game, it was quite late, to be honest, because with coming up from up here, there wasn't really anybody who was willing to travel with me to go to a game, and I didn't know anybody sort of down near Meadow Park or near the Emirates that would come to a game with me. So I want to say it was in November. I can't remember what year it was. It was the year we had the blue away kit. The year before we signed Tobin Heath. My memory is absolutely awful today. I don't know what's going on with me. And it was in November, the 6th of November, I want to say, because me and my friend had gotten the bonfire the night before. We played West Ham, and it was still like, it was a night game, so you're still only getting like absolute maximum couple hundred people at Meadow Park. You could walk round from goal to goal. And we stood directly behind the goal in the first half that Arsenal were shooting towards. So me and my friend Alex, being Alex, was giving it to the West Ham back line the whole game. And there's a photo somewhere of Gilly Flattery turning around to remind us that the score was 0-0. Only for Kim to score a record-breaking goal right in front of us about a minute and a half later. And then there's a video on, I think it's the Sky Sports Twitter, of her celebrating towards the fans. There's about 20 of us there. And she's just doing a little standard Kim Little fist bumps, and me and my friends in the background like banging on the chest on our shirts and just losing our minds completely. So that was my first game, and it's probably one of my favorite games I've been to.
Yeah, that don't sound like you to be celebrating that. But, I do like how your celebrations have got more extravagant over the years, though.
It's because more people have been turning up. Some of my recent antics you couldn't get away with if there was only like 100, 200 people in the crowd.
So just going back to, like, obviously your first game. So have you I'm assuming you've noticed like how massively it escalated, like with the with the fan base, and like, was there a certain moment that you noticed it first changing? Would you say around the Euros time, or would you say even before that?
I'd say it was probably post Euros when I really thought this is where the big change is going to happen. Because even like me and my friends came down for the Euros. We did the last quarter final, both semis and the final, and even just sitting in Wembley as a neutral, I was wearing a Germany top. And just seeing the fact that it was sold out, and then just hearing the roar when England won, which was kind of painful but kind of enjoyable at the same time. And looking at the pitch and seeing all the players who played in and around the local area, like you had your Chelsea players, you had your Arsenal players, things like that. You really thought in that moment, like, this is where the attendances in the league can really take off. And I want to say it was only a couple of months after that I came back down for a game. And it was one of the first times where there was an actual like meet up in the pub, and there's a group of people there that you've never seen before, and you start meeting people, start speaking to people. And you just progressively saw Meadow Park getting busier and busier and busier until tickets were selling out, which was really...
Yeah, it was good. That was actually that's the only ever England game I've been to for the women, was the final. So I don't need to go ever again. One game, we've won the Euros, 100% record. I'll die on my sword with that one.
World Cup final next time when we reach it again or something like that, George.
Oh, but I'm glad we're talking about the women, because that's not happening under Southgate.
No, we don't talk about the men's team.
Yeah, but talking about Germany, they've just crashed out of the Euros as well. So,
so Kai can have a rest now, can't he?
Yeah. Is there any questions in the chat, Dan?
One from Lily, and I think she's maybe aimed it to everybody, but so, like for Mel, she said, "What was your favourite moment from last season?" But you can't. This is me adding, so you can't mention the Conti Cup final.
The Conti Cup final does make it a little bit easier because there's a lot of top moments from last season, probably all tied together. Taking the Conti Cup out of it, Villa at the Emirates, be at that game. I just came home from holiday in Greece. Friday, was supposed to be home on the Saturday because I was supposed to have a game on Sunday, and our game got cancelled. So I messaged my coach and was like, "If tomorrow's just training, do you mind if I don't come home and I go to the Emirates instead?" And he was like, "Just do whatever. I really don't care." So I was like, "Sold. Easy jet flight. It's changed. I'm going to the Emirates." And the whole game for like 80 minutes, I was like, "I cannot believe I've changed my flight. I'm not in my football. We're losing 1-0 to Villa. What is going on?" And then Katie McCabe scores, and I'm like, "Right, okay, here we go. And then Russo scores in the dying minutes, and I don't even remember what happened, but I've got an actual scar on my hand in the shape of a tooth because I've just thrown my hands up and I've punched one of my friends in the mouth. We still don't know whose mouth I punched. My hand was bleeding. My fingers, like my hands were all bruised. It was, yeah, wild, but at the same time, for my celebration, still kind of tame.
No, this does worry me as we're supposed to be sitting together next season.
Yeah.
I was just going to say...
You just like use the Kim flag to like tie my arms behind my back so I don't flail as much as I do when we usually score. It's usually... I'll celebrate and then like Alex will start celebrating, but she also launches herself towards me at the same time. So there's a few times where we've both just gone like flying down the row of seats because Alex just comes at you full pelt and you don't realise she's there until she hits you and you're just wiping out people on your way past. So that you guys have that to look forward to.
that was quite fun at the cup final when we beat Chelsea when I was sitting with you guys. So that was quite... I remember that and then wiped out the person next to me. But it's not a proper Arsenal celebration if you don't either injure yourself or hit someone. I can't remember who I'm sitting next to. I think it might be you, Andrew.
I think that's why I got the cut price ticket. They said you get an obstructed view every so often, and if you could have it for half price. I didn't realise it was George's flailing arms and maybe we're all stage diving by Mel.
Well, yeah, when we had the Conti Cup, I launched my brother down the aisle. So
through your brother.
Yeah, so when we scored, I can't remember, it might have been Steen that scored. I jumped up, smashed my knee off of the barrier, then launched my brother, and Sam had to catch my brother. And apparently, there's like a picture or video of Sam just catching my brother in his arms.
Oh my god! I gotta take my insurance.
Yeah. Just call it disability insurance, mate. It's fine. So yeah, so I'm gonna ask you another question, Mel. I think I know the answer to this, so I don't know why I'm asking this. Your ultimate favourite Arsenal player and why?
It's a tie between 3, and the reason for why is all the same reason. So, Kim, obviously, love her. She's a local. I say local. It's like 45 minutes away, but it's local enough. She counts. Jen BE can never do any wrong in my eyes. She is a woman, a myth, a legend. Everything she's done in an Arsenal top is an honour to have seen, to have witnessed. And obviously, Scotland's highest scoring player ever, Julie Fleeting. And the reason why is because they're all Scottish. No.
I was going to say, it's the second question, who's your favourite non-Scottish player? But those are 3 absolute brilliant players, to be fair.
Even taking out the slight Scottish bias in me, just being able to watch how they are on the pitch. Kim's very much a silent leader that she's not your typical captain where you see her like barking orders and stuff like that. But she's got control of everything that's going on. She's aware of everything that's going on around her. And I think that's a really good quality to have. And just, she's a bit of an unsung hero. Like, if you're not an Arsenal fan, if you're not Scottish, I don't know how many times I've said she's one of the greatest in the world at her position. And even professional players like Tobin Heath said one of the best players she's played alongside is Kim Little. Megan Rapinoe said it. And that's like back-to-back World Cup winners saying that. And there's still people that are like, she's old. She's dusted. She's beyond her time. And I'm like, she just keeps getting better. Like, she adapts to every situation. She can do no wrong. Jen's just a powerhouse. I think she's always been, again, a bit one of those players who sort of flies under the radar. People love her when they love her, and when she makes a mistake, people hate her. I remember when she was quite often playing as a starting centre-back for us week in, week out. I think it was in the literal trenches defending Jen from some of the stuff that people were saying online. And then obviously with her whole cancer diagnosis and playing through it and stuff like that, I just, every time I see her, I was like, you astound me, you amaze me. You are my utmost respect for her. And then Julie Fleeting's just Julie Fleeting. Do you know what I mean? There's no other words for her. Like, she's just a legend of the game. Highest scoring Scotland player ever. Beats out Kenny Dalglish. I think she almost doubles his goal tally for Scotland in a heck of a lot less games. So yeah, just to have 3 players like that to both represent the club that I love and the country that I love with all my being is one of my favourite things ever.
Didn't you meet Julie Fleeting on the train?
I did. I literally got on the same tube as her after the Manchester United game at the Emirates when I was very, very drunk. And I was like, whoa. And she was lovely. Turns out she was flying home as well because I had a game of football the next day. So I did a day trip and down and back for my lovely mother to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, take me to the airport, and then to come through at 8 o'clock at night to pick me up hungover. So I got on the tube with her, spoke to her, sort of put my foot in it, speaking to her, because I was trying to explain to the people I was on the train with, like, that's Julie Fleeting. How do you not know who Julie Fleeting is? And she's heard me being like, she's a Scottish legend. How can you not know who she is? And she just started laughing and then spoke to me. And we got off the tube. I asked her, I was like, sorry to be a pest. Any chance we can get a photo? She's like, yeah, of course, no problem. And then got on the escalator and I wasn't really paying attention. And I looked up and I was standing behind her. I was like, I swear to God, I'm not following you. I'm just trying to go home. But it turns out she was also going to Gatwick. So I managed to get on the train to Gatwick with her and sat with her and her daughter and had another good long conversation with her. So that's
for the show.
Yeah.
She'll be on the podcast next.
Hopefully. Maybe not, because I feel like she might be able to tell you stories about what I said when I was drunk, because I don't remember.
Yeah, get her on. Get her on.
Some conversations we've had now, but we can't repeat. That's fine. So yeah, Dan, Andrew, got any questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, Matt, I mean, this is a family show, so I'm just sort of careful with your answer. But could you talk us through your match day? So sort of getting up time and travel down time, and
Might need a solicitor for this.
yeah, I say just remember it is a family show, and just
One of
Jaeger
my
box
teammates
and
works with lawyers. Should I get her on the phone really quick, just in case?
just a highlight, sort of, the key points, maybe, just so it's
So if it's
an average day.
If it's a Saturday, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to do it as a day trip because I'll have a game on my own on a Sunday. If it's a Sunday and I'm not playing, I'll make a weekend of it. Or if it's a game that's not that important, if my coach is watching this, every game's important. I love the club. I'm going to play every game I can. Sometimes Arsenal just need me more. Then again, I'll make a weekend of it. But if I'm doing a day trip, it's a case of up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 45-minute drive to the airport. Flight leaves the airport at like 20 past 6. Get into London about 8:30. Then it's like an hour on the train from Gatwick into central London to either collect my friends en route or just get straight to the Emirates or straight to Meadow Park to get them there. And then, if anybody knows me and my friends, the first place we congregate is the pub. We're there from bright and breezy in the morning until not very long before kickoff. We like to leave it late, and then we get to the North Bank and we're like, oh, there's no space. Or, oh, it's really busy. Will we go and get another pint instead? So that's usually what happens. Cause chaos for 90 minutes, maybe longer if there's added time. Back to the pub, regardless of the result. And then if I'm flying home, it's depending on what time the game is. Straight out of there as soon as possible, 6:30, on the flight at 8 o'clock, home by 10:30, and then another 45-minute drive home. So if I'm doing it as a day trip, I am out of the house for about 18 hours, give or take.
Wow.
All to watch 22 women kick a ball about for 90 minutes.
What's the journey like from, say, if you're going from the Emirates compared to Meadow Park then? So if you go from Gatwick, is it obviously it's easier to get to the Emirates?
It's 6 and 2 3s really. It's not that much of a difference. It just sort of depends on what time kickoff is. If it's Meadow Park, I usually don't do it as a day trip because it would be easier to fly in and out of Luton. So day trips are usually only when we're playing at the Emirates. Meadow Park, I usually make a weekend out of it just for sake of easiness because the kickoff times are either really early and I can't get there in time, or really late and I'd miss my flight home. But journey-wise, if I fly in, it doesn't really, because I think for the last game of the season, I flew in first thing in the morning, and that was at Meadow Park. And I was still in the pub before 12 o'clock.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's not... Emirates is definitely going to be a lot easier, especially for doing day trips, but journey-wise, it's much and such the same, depending on what airport I come into and what train station I get on at.
This was from the chat, but I mean, what is the journey like after a bad performance? Well, we've had a bit of a off day, should we say?
I feel like the only game that I've really been to where I came out was when we played Chelsea in the FA Cup, and when they did it in December. Again, I was only in London for like 22 hours or something because I came down first thing in the morning on the Saturday and then flew home on the Sunday quite early in the morning because I had plans on the Sunday afternoon. Battered 3-0. Arsenal end was near enough non-existent. Like there wasn't a lot of people in Wembley. And me and my friends, the usual suspects of Alex, Eve, Lauren, Maisie, were like, let's just go to Box Park. We're here anyway. We'll go to Box Park. And we went, and I think we outsung the Chelsea fans that were in there. There was a lot more of them than there was of us. We were just winding them up all night, sort of giving them banter back and forth. And we didn't really leave until about 1 o'clock in the morning. So I feel like regardless of the result, as long as I'm with my friends, the result doesn't matter. It's always a good day out.
Cool.
Should have seen me. You should have seen me. Should have seen me at Tottenham away. I wasn't like that day. I was absolutely vile. I don't know actually. I think Tottenham away or West Ham away. I think I was more vile. Like, I remember someone, a West Ham fan, come outside when we was walking past, and he was like, "How's the are you going to watch Declan Rice bottle a league?" And I went, "Mate, you didn't even know you had a women's team until 20 minutes ago." That was in the same room. So yeah, I've got a bit. It's a question, but it's not really, and it's going to put you on the spot because I've not even told you I'm going to ask you this. So if you had to choose 3 people, like 3 famous people that you have at a dinner party, and they can be women footballers or anyone, who would it be?
I want to say it's easy, but it's not easy at the same time because I'm overthinking.
No, that's why I asked.
Instantly had 3 players come to my brain, but I was like, is that too obvious to state those 3? But as the 3 I'm going to go with anyway. Jen Beattie, obviously. If I ever tweet or say the words "I hate Jen Beattie," just assume that I've been kidnapped, and it's a cry for help. So Jen, Ian Wright. I'd love to have a conversation with that man. I just think he has so much knowledge about football in general, and just he's got so many good stories. I just want to eat one of Wrighty's pies that he's made, have a couple of beers, have a good time. And Henrik Larsson, I would love to have a conversation with that man. He's seen it all, he's done it all. And there's a Celtic connection in there as well. I didn't even think of that. But that was
Yeah, I liked
accidental.
Henrik Larsson. Then he came on in the Champions League final in 2006 and created 2 goals. So sort of went off him after that. Then he signed for United as well, which was just
After he did that, he was dead to me. And I tend to block that stretch of his career out of my memory. But the first time I ever felt heartache, like the first time I've ever cried over football, was when Henrik Larsson left Celtic to go to Barcelona. And my dad still likes to wind me up about that.
I thought you was going to try and involve Taylor Swift into that conversation.
No, I was keeping it very football forward.
Okay, cool.
But if we're going to take singers into it, that would have been a lot longer for me to sit and think.
I thought there was another Arsenal legend that you was missing. I thought you would have named would have been Joe Potter.
The way that woman irks me.
This is the Rangers manager, viewers, if anyone's not.
Right, thank you.
If you're at Meadow Park on the 4th of September and there's somebody somewhere hurling abuse at Joe Potter, I'm not going to say it's me. It's probably going to be me.
I mean, she got a good reception at Meadow Park. She played in some cup finals and maybe a few games for Arsenal, I think. So.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's Joe Potter. She's a Rangers manager. She doesn't mean anything to me anymore.
So I'm sure there'll be some fans who'll cheer for her like they will for a certain someone else later in the season. But anyway, that's a different show.
Not me.
Well, obviously we'll have a review of the season up and coming preview. So not a review. It's not even happened yet.
Not over yet, is it?
We've won the league. That's it. It's foregone conclusion. We've won the league.
Mate.
To be fair, if we lose to Rangers, it will be over.
Yeah, but anyway. Mel, what's your kind of ambitions, hopes, and all that for the season up and coming? You looking for us to buy anyone else?
Buying anyone else? I don't really. Well, we obviously need another keeper.
Yeah.
There's a very specific keeper that springs to mind, but I don't know if she's still injured.
Oh, yeah, I think she is. She's not in the squad, is she? She's not in the Dutch squad. You're thinking about Van Damselaar, yeah?
I am indeed.
Yeah, in the squad.
I think
people
she's
like,
back
oh,
in training though.
yeah, because
Yeah.
even before she came into the WSL at the Women's Euros, I remember she ended up getting chucked in at the deep end because Van Veenendaal got injured. And I remember watching, we were behind the goals for the Netherlands-France game, and some of the saves she pulled off, I was like, who is this? Where she came from? She's only young. And if this is her now, she's only going to get better. So from that moment, I was very much sold on her. So I'd love for her to come in. I can't really think of anybody else coming in, going out. I'll leave that to Claire Wheatley and Jonas and the backroom staff to make those difficult decisions that don't always go to plan. Obviously, we need to win silverware this season. I love the Conti Cup. The Conti Cup's good vibes. I've never had a bad day out at the Conti Cup. But we need to be pushing for the league. We need to be pushing for the FA Cup. Like, for a team like Arsenal to have not seen an FA Cup final in as long as we have now is kind of shameful. And if we don't get out of the Champions League play-in tournament this season, I actually don't think I'll ever show my face in public again. Because if we lose to Rangers, it's over for me. It's literally over for me. I can't come back from that. But looking at the teams that we've got, not just hating on Rangers because it's about a Celtic fan, but having seen the way that Rangers play and seen the way that Arsenal play, I can't see the game going anywhere apart from us playing them off the park. The other tie could go either way, but I think that would make for a very interesting final. But I really hope it's not another Paris situation where we don't have a proper pre-season and we just go, eh.
Did Gio sign for Atletico? She did, didn't she? Was it?
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
don't start celebrating.
that. Yeah, that's not like she's got a point to prove or anything against Jonas. So that'd be fine.
I think
What could go wrong there?
I think though as well, like we have this time, we've got actual pre-season before we actually play because obviously we're going to America, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I think that where last season we just didn't have nothing because of the World Cup and that, and I think there's quite a bit of a gap between the Olympics and when we and all that as well. So, and I don't know how many players we've actually got going. So I think we should be a bit more prepared.
Did you say 6 or something? I thought I read something on there.
Yeah,
2 for Spain, 3 for Australia. And, who else we got? I'm trying to think now.
Is it the two Spaniards?
Yeah.
Is Emily going?
Yeah, Emily's one.
Yeah.
In the 6.
Is Chloe going? Did Canada qualify?
Yeah.
Chloe's, yeah.
Dan's favourite. Yeah, I can't forget her.
Oh, she's player of the tournament. She's going to be in the Olympics, definitely.
You get. Someone told me you're getting a Lacasse top this season.
Well, that was a secret, Joe. So thanks for ruining it. But
That's right. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, there's one from Emma Louise O'Connor in the chat, and it's quite a controversial one. But hey, it's Mel. So
gets the
thinking about how well they connect an international duty. How would you like to see Erin Cuthbert sign for the Arsenal?
Oh dear. Sorry.
Thanks, Emma.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but not just saying this because she plays for Chelsea. I genuinely don't know who she would replace in our squad to come in the starting lineup because I don't think the kind of football she plays fits in with the kind of football we're playing at the minute with our formation. I love Erin Cuthbert when she wears a certain shade of blue, and when she wears another shade of blue, I don't even want to see her face. But yeah, because she's Scottish, because I think she's class, I would love to see her play for Arsenal. But I genuinely don't know who she would replace in the squad. And I'm not just saying that to be like Erin Cuthbert would ride the bench at Arsenal. But looking at the way our team's set up and the kind of football we're playing versus the kind of football she's playing at Chelsea, it wouldn't be as easy of a switch as what people would think it would be.
Do you think there's any players from the Scottish League or in the WSL Scottish players that could play for Arsenal? Apart from, Aaron Cuthbert, do you think there's anyone else that's at that level that they could?
I genuinely don't know, because the Scotland team at the minute is very much chopping and changing, and we're starting to bring in a lot of the SWPL players. Obviously, the real Sam Kerr, the Scottish Sam Kerr, is playing at Bayern Munich now, and it seems to have done a lot for her. She seems to have really upped her game. And also you've got Christy Grimshaw, who plays for AC Milan, who is out just now, sadly, because she's done her ACL. But the only sort of player I could see that's in the Scotland squad that could fit into an Arsenal squad, ironically, has already played for Arsenal, and that would be Caroline Weir.
Oh, what a player.
I think she's the kind of player who can just adapt to any and every sort of team and situation that she's put in. Like, she fit in flawlessly at Real Madrid. She fit in flawlessly at Man City. I feel like no matter where she goes, she sort of makes an instant impact in a squad.
Who was going to say Lisa Evans then for a minute? I was like,
no, word on the street is Lisa Evans is returning to the SWPL, apparently.
well, as long as she don't sign for Man City, then there's no problems.
Been there, done that. See that we've got all the ITKs on here. Dan, have you got any questions before we finish up?
No more, Mel. Just what level of insurance probably I'm going to need for next season. That's all I'm thinking. But forget for third-party fire and theft, that should cover it for the matches.
You should be fine. I think what I'll do is I'll send you a list of my games, and I'll highlight the ones that are really important to me, aka the ones where I'm probably going to get into fights and probably get sent off.
Oh, Jesus.
If we
there's two very specific games, and also my games are being live streamed this season, so when that game is being played, I would suggest watching, because this season just passed. I wasn't there because I was at an Arsenal game, and we had somebody sent off in 25 minutes. Our manager was sent off. Our manager's a bit of a head case, but I love him. I think there was only 3 or 4 girls on the team who left the game without a yellow card. And it's like a proper local rivalry now, to the point that my mum went to watch the game and she was like, you would have been sent off in less than 10 minutes if you were playing. So I will be attending that game this season, and I will not be paying the fine if I do get sent off. Again, if you're my manager watching this, I said what I said. You don't pay your fines, I'm not paying mine. So yeah, I'll highlight the games that I'm going to be playing, so you can be like, don't need insurance for those ones, and the rest of them, maybe bring like a really big bubble wrap suit. You can just wrap you in.
Just as a little last. I mean, could you ever see Katie playing for Celtic?
I would love to see Katie playing for Celtic. I think, well, she's a Celtic fan. She's got that fight in her. She understands what derbies mean. And I think even though it's going to be Arsenal Rangers, to see her playing against Rangers, knowing how much of an avid Celtic fan she is going to be a very, very interesting 90 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. If we see an empty seat next to Mel at the Emirates, we know Dan's bottled it.
Or found a seat a lot further away.
Yeah. But he sat next to me at a men's game, so he'd be fine.
That was very tame, that game, though, George. Remember, it was just everyone was too quiet in that game. I thought, what's going on?
Yeah, and every time we went to sing, I think we got that really dirty looks, but it didn't really matter to me because I couldn't see them. So yeah, Andrew, have you got a final question?
Final question: who takes the penalties next year, Mel?
Obviously, Kim.
Obviously,
she does what she does. She does what she does best. I can count on one hand how many times I've watched her miss a penalty, and they've all been quite recent.
Yeah.
But if injured, I would, or not so. Bit controversial. because we gave them to Kate McCabe, and I count on one hand how many. I think that was probably like the longest stretch of time I remember where we're like every second game we seemed to have been getting a penalty, and I was like, well, here we go. This is hitting the post or this is going wide. So yeah, Kim first choice, Russo second choice. I've never actually seen Caldenti take a penalty, so she could sneak in there as an experienced player with a level head on her shoulders. But
Leah's taken a few she used to take a few for England. It was like the under 21s or under 23. What was that penalty she took one time when it was like the game was
the game was
Leeds
finished.
penalty or something,
Dragged them all out for Leah
Yeah.
to take a penalty, and that was it. Game over.
So yeah, Beth must have taken some penalties before, surely. You'd have thought she must have done.
Yeah.
Maybe we just wheel Lena Hurtig on. She's got some form.
What has happened to her? Like, I know this wasn't the point of
No,
this,
that's a great
the
question.
show,
Though,
but
yeah,
we
it's
don't
really
know if
sad.
she's-
Actually, it
we
feels
don't know
really
if she's-
sad.
Contract's been terminated. We don't know.
I think she had a 2-year contract or something, or 3-year something from when she signed. So she's still, as far as I'm aware, under contract. But
I think she's still got a year left.
Just
Yeah,
feels really
they said
sad.
that obviously she had the back injury and she had back surgery? ? And then since then, it's just been like there is no Lena Hurtig here.
Jonas said something about personal problems, didn't
Yeah.
he? That
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
maybe
that's kind of.
sure.
Yeah, that kind of makes it feel a bit. Yeah, you kind of
Yeah.
worry for her, but I hope she's okay because
Exactly.
it is a shame because I just never felt we got to see it. You know, she was just injury. She never got a good run in the game. You know, never really got the chance to show herself. So that just feels.
she's never had a run at all.
Yeah.
That end of the Wolfsburg game, wasn't it? That season, she was coming back. She wasn't really fully fit, which a couple of half chances she had. And did she score? Did she score against this? Leicester, wasn't it? Away, she scored.
Yeah.
Probably the only game she played. Yeah.
People love to be like, "Oh, I can't believe we actually paid money for her," but we wouldn't have paid money for her if there wasn't something there that the club thought that she could have brought in. I just feel like she's just had a very Kieran Tierney-esque unlucky injury spell.
Lena Tierney.
It always comes back to a Scottish player.
That's my boy.
But yeah, that obviously was the Gooner Stories with Mel. So thank you for that. Hope you enjoyed it, Mel. Yeah, we've got some bit of an insight to what it's like being the famous Mel. So obviously we've got other shows coming up in this same series. You're stuck with me next Friday. It's my one, so that could be a very controversial one. So
An hour on Zinsberger.
I might be ill. I don't mind Zinsberger as much now. It's
Oh, bless you.
It's moved on. It's moved on to the manager.
Oh,
Don't you start.
So yeah, next Friday 7:30 it'll be me. So I think obviously I can't host my own questions, so it'll be Dan or Andrew probably hosting. But keep posted with that. If anyone wants to get involved in this and wants to share your stories, it'd be amazing to hear your stories. So just get in touch with us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Continue to do that. Andrew, thanks for the questions and always being the top guy.
Pleasure. We're going to win the league.
Yeah, for sure. Even I can see that. And once again, Mel, thank you. And if you want, hopefully come back on soon. Well, next week if you're around.
I want to say I'm working next week. It's also my birthday on Friday, so even if I wasn't working, I would not have been gracing you with my presence.
We will not be able to.
Yeah, no, I will hopefully be back on soon.
Yeah,
I really don't know what's going on with my work schedule at the minute, so
no, that's cool.
it's a surprise to all involved.
We'll see Mel when we see Mel. There you go. That's the best way. It's like super sub. That's what she's like. Dan, thank you as always. Good to be back.
Yeah. Thank you, mate. It was good. It was good. Seamless. It's like we've never been away.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone who put like messages in the chat. And we will see you next week, next Friday, for our next show. Have a good evening. Have a lovely weekend, and enjoy the Euros.
Come on, England.
Yeah.